In your opinion, who built the Great Pyramid of Giza, and what evidence supports that view?
The why was on a religious expression by the Egyptians themselves. By helping the Pharaoh get to eternal paradise, then they actually helped the whole nation go into their eternal reward. Khufu was the Pharaoh who wanted to build his pyramid. The evidence towards that is the workers who died saying they helped build his pyramid, which is in the burial ground right next to it, outside the enclosure wall, of course, because that's sacred and that they're mundane. The overseers, which are actually buried higher up on the hill, obviously they're supervisors, saying they helped do that. Other documentation, several seals found around the Great Pyramid of Giza. Khufu's son has a mortuary temple. Several stats saying that he built it with his father. So there's a whole bunch of evidence that actually, when combined together, if you put them all together, say that Khufu built the pyramid. And the Egyptians built the pyramid. You had about 50,000 50,000 workers on the pyramid at any one time. Most of them were transient. They were, had taxes. They couldn't pay taxes. So they worked on the pyramid. And they were actually very glad to do that due to the fact that they were very well taken care of. They got 3 meals a day. They got plenty of beer.
Meat, I think it was back then, just because the water was so polluted, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, and I think about today, college kids. You feed them beer, move these rocks. They're going to move the rocks for beer all day long. Mm-hmm. And then you have about 5,000 professionals who actually stayed permanently at each site. Now, each pyramid, most of the stone was actually quarried on site. That's why they chose the sites that they did. 3 of the parameters were how flat is the stone, right? Because they're going to have to level it because you've got a lot of weight on there.
But they had to quarry it down from the now hundreds of miles down, and they had to float it down was the one theory.
That's only the granite internally.
Mm-hmm.
The most of the pyramid and the granite, right, comes like 300-400 miles away. And you've got these huge blocks. I mean, they put some effort. But if you look at the blocks, right, in antiquity, 70,000 is actually lightweight. I mean,
you have monolithic structures at that time as well, or
yeah, I mean, they're really not that big. I mean, and if truth, comes, truth it's that the Romans are the culture who moved the biggest stones, and we know how they moved it because they documented it.
If you believe aliens built the Great Pyramid of Giza, the question is why? If you believe humanity built the Great Pyramid of Giza, then the question is still the same. Why?
Since I don't believe that aliens actually built the pyramid, then can't answer the why question for the aliens. But I can tell you why the humans built, or the Egyptians, I should say, built the pyramid. The pyramid is actually part of their religious belief that people forget to add into the equation. Ancient man was very superstitious and religious. So the pyramid is actually a reflection of the primordial mound, which came out from the waters of chaos, and then the sun god Aten came out, the main god, was created. If you look, you can see the evolution of the pyramid from the sacred mound.
Starting with the mastabas you're talking about.
Even actually before that, but yeah. In the pre-Destiny and the first dynasty, they would actually make these pits in the ground. They would actually line them with mud brick and actually do the same type of tomb and then put a mound over it. Later in the second dynasty, they started actually making a structure, but they would do it out of mud brick. Okay. Now a mastaba is a tomb. It looks like a bench. We would think it's like a brick, really, with like angles on it. And they can be quite large. They did that even into the end of the third dynasty, where Djoser was the first pharaoh to actually construct a pyramid. He actually started out with a mastaba, and then he increased it, and then he increased the mastaba, and then he increased the mastaba, and then he added 3 more mastabas on top to get that sacred mound. Then he increased it to 6. So the first stone structure that the first stone pyramid that the Egyptians built, the step pyramid, was actually built in several stages. It wasn't designed as a pyramid at first to get that sacred mound. Now, the next 3 pyramids that were built weren't even finished. Most of them are just a few layers. They didn't get to finish them. But then the biggest, a lot of people think Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, is the greatest pyramid builder. He's not. His father is. Snafu actually built 3 pyramids. He's built the pyramid at Medun, which collapsed. He built the bent pyramid, which broke during construction or had cracks. And he built the red pyramid. The bent pyramid would be greater than the Great Pyramid if the angle didn't change. And if they would have kept the angle for the red pyramid, it too would have been bigger.
And so you're saying that all this building, all this construction, decades, if you will, of building these mud bricks eventually came into the pyramid, and so the Great Pyramid of Giza is also a tomb?
Yes, I would say that. I would say because the evolution, you can actually see the evolution of the pyramid and the mistakes that were made building these pyramids, that when Khufu decided to build his pyramid, he already had all the knowledge from all his predecessors. 7 pyramids were built before him. Each one has mistakes. Each one was corrected in the next pyramid, and there were mistakes made. So by the time they got to Khufu's pyramid, he had all this experience from all his engineers.